Yeah, hi guys, welcome to another card review. Three new cards have been revealed since my last video, and since I always talk a little bit longer, those three cards are enough to make it a new video. Just before we start, one thing I want to point out, like always, I want to mention that this is just my personal opinion about those cards. And therefore, you should rather be more interested in the arguments than my final assessment if those cards are good or not. And then you can also compare it with other opinions online and then make your own thoughts. It's the best thing. I also have to admit that sometimes I realize later that I missed one aspect or so, or I start to change my opinion on it slightly. Not completely, but a little bit. Maybe I will also make a video in the future about those things where I think I might been wrong. But even then, I can be wrong again in this video, so I don't know. Anyway, let's start with the minions. And the first one is a neutral card, a common card. For one mana, it's a 1/1 with the name Tentacle of N'Zoth. I have never played World of Warcraft, so I'm not so sure if I pronounced N'Zoth right, but you know what I mean. So the death rattle is deal 1 damage to all minions. This can be compared to Explosive Cheap, which was a 2 mana 1/1 with the death rattle dealing 2 damage to all minions. Yeah, so those cards we have seen in a few decks. More decks, fatigue decks or grinder decks, where you haven't played, where you don't have so many early game cards or early game minions, but you would rather want to clear all the stuff which your opponent plays early on. Your main goal is to make it into the late game, and then therefore to remove all those stuff on the board. But therefore the explosive sheep was useful with the death rattle. But even though you can play this guy one turn earlier, I don't think it's so much better. So it's not a really good substitution for this, since the 1 damage to all minion is just not enough. So 2 is way better in this case, or for this purpose, and 1 is just not okay. I think where this could be good is when you have a meta where you have a lot of face decks like Face Hunter, and you really need a minion on the board early on, which can also deal with more than 1 minion. So with this minion, for example, you could avoid that Hunter plays Leper Gnome and the next turn double Abusive Sergeant, and if he is doing this and going face, you could kill the board immediately. Also if you play this on turn 1, he's most probably is doing the trade before he's playing something else, so that he can play something on an early board and not all of his minions are damaged by this guy. So you save 1 turn. So this might be one way to use him. Another way to use him could be in Grim Patron deck. So in standard, we won't see Frostbite anymore, and so you miss 1 whirlwind effect. So in this card has basically a whirlwind effect. You can use this. But I don't know if you just you cannot substitute Frostbite with it. The death rattle are the same, but Frostbite has it has a really strong weapon, so really good removal, or you can go face with it. It might be possible to use it there, also to make yeah, to have more reliable the whirlwind effect or more often. Um, yeah, but this is the only two things, two cases where I think this can be useful. So Green Pattern Warrior, or to really yeah, as a counter to really aggressive decks. But I don't think it's such a good card. In Arena, this is not a good card in my opinion, just because the stats are not really good. And yeah, you might play this on turn 1, and then you, depending what he's playing, if he plays a 2-drop with 2-3 stats, yeah, this guy has more or less the same effect than a 2-1 1-mana minion would have. So therefore, you might think it's not worse. Yeah, but still, the problem is usually you want to go ahead, you want to play tempo early on, and you try to get the ball control early on, and if you get this later, it's just harm you. It's just not good. It's only good if you miss a little bit the early game. And in this case, yeah, is 1 damage enough? I mean, it's the same question with constructed. It's why it's not a good substitution for explosive sheep. Explosive sheep sometimes worse. It's also itself was not the best arena card, but sometimes was okay if you somehow missed a little bit the early game, and you played this. You could have board clear or almost board clear, and then yeah, catching up on the board. But this guy with his death rattle, this is simply not enough. So therefore, I think it's not a good card. So we come to the next 1-mana minion. It's a warrior card with 1/1 stat. Name is N'Zoth, First Mate. It's a pirate and has a battle cry. Equip a 1/3 Rusty Hook. So yeah, it's a pirate, which is yeah, it's always good if they have some special tags, but so far we have not enough pirates to get a really competitive pirate deck. This card would have been really good with Rook, since it has some more synergies with pirates, has more pirates itself. Yeah, and equipping a 1/3 weapon with a possible deadly poison would have been really good. For warrior, I don't see which purpose it should have in constructed. The body is, yeah, okay, you cannot expect much from a 1-drop. Yeah, but 1/1 is yeah, it's like wisp, and then you get this 1/3 Rusty Hook, and you cannot do so much with it. So I think the value you get out of this card is actually not that bad, but is it useful in constructed? I have my problems to see this, because I don't know why you should. The 1/3 weapon is not so useful, and the minion itself is not strong enough. So I think they're better, stronger cards for warrior, and therefore in constructed, I don't think we will see this. Yeah, but arena here is a different topic. In arena, I would say it's actually, yeah, it's a good card. It's a good 1-drop. So since arena games are quite fast, 1-drops are not so bad. Some, I don't know, 1 or 2 years ago, it was you were more focused on 2-drops, and 1-drops were considered not as that good. But since tempo is so important, it's also good to have a few 1-drops. And the good thing is also it equips you a weapon. And when you play constructed, you can just yeah, put some weapons in your deck so that you get more or less consistently your weapons. But in Arena you cannot always draft weapons, and weapons are actually really good in Arena. Yeah, especially for the warrior, since otherwise his hero power is useless. It's not doing anything for board control. It just helps him to survive longer. Um, but therefore, it's good to have weapons where you can also affect the board. And then, yeah, using the hero power to more or less heal himself. Yeah, so weapons are really strong. We see this in Rogue, how good this is. And yeah, as I mentioned, since you not always have the ability to have a weapon, this is quite good. Also, even though it's not the strongest card, it's the 1/3, so you can compare it more or less with Light Justice. So on different internet sites, if you see the value of Light Justice, it's not rated that high. But I personally, I really like it, because it gives you 4 times an extra ping you can have. And this really helps you to have an effect on the board. This 1 damage you can deal from time to time is sometimes so useful. Yeah, so that I like it. And here you get also, yeah, it has 1 less charge, but you get a minion out of it. And yeah, so if your opponent has a 2-drop, for example, and it's a 3/2, he cannot play this card, or he can, of course, but then you trade into it, you kill it, and then you play something, and it can really help you to make efficient trades early on. So that I think this is a good card in Arena. Okay, we come to the last one. It's Hallazeal the Ascended, and it's the Shaman card. Yeah, it's a 5-mana for 6, and says whenever your spells deal damage, restore that much health to your hero. This is also a really interesting ability. You can do some really crazy stuff with this. So when I was first thinking of it, okay, you play it and then you play, I don't know, let's say Crackle or so, and then you heal for 5 and you deal 5 damage, which is really nice. But then the AoE spells of the Shaman came into my mind, and there's a lot of potential to have some really high heal. I don't know what's the right word. So just if you look at the Elemental Destruction, which deals 4 to 5 damage to every minion on the board, that is actually huge. Just think of, you have in total there are 4 minions on the board, and you play this guy and you play this. The Hallazeal the Ascended will survive it, and yeah, the other stuff most likely will die. And it deals 4 or 5 damage to 5 minion in this special case, so you get healed by 20 to 25, which is huge. So for example, if you play something against a really aggressive deck, just combo alone could be yeah, a comeback, or just alone win you the game. It is an 8-mana combo, which is really high. But yeah, maybe you can play it on turn 5, and your opponent, yeah, either he try to deal with it, but then he will need to spend resources, or he will ignore it and you can play it on 6. So I think this is a really good card to deal with yeah, aggressive decks, because the risk for someone who is for an aggressive player here is really that you can come up with some AoE, so you kill his whole board and have a lot of you gain a lot of health, because this immediately would lose him the game in 90% of the cases. So that's a really good card against aggressive decks. If not, depends. So yeah, I have to admit that I'm not really into Shaman, and I have all classes to level 60, but Shaman is still below 40. So I think you can see the potential that's really good against aggressive decks, and but I have problems to assess how good it is for control decks or mid-range matchups. But if you play a control deck, then usually you have your other means to deal with other control decks, and then you need some stuff to deal with aggressive decks, and this would be one of the cards which deals with aggressive decks. So I think this is a good card constructed, but as I said, I'm not a really good Shaman player. From the opinions I heard from other ones, actually not so much. It was just Crip who introduced this card. But of course, I mean, Blizzard gave him a card and he should reveal it. Of course, he needs to say something nice about the card. He cannot say, "Okay, Blizzard did garbage." So yeah, you should be careful with his own opinion. This might be not so objective. Yeah, but I think he has more knowledge about this, and I also can see some potentials. In Arena, it's just actually I think here I can say a little bit more, even though I hardly play a Shaman in Arena, but in general, the health from your hero is not that important. Later on, of course, if you're running out of health, it's change the strategy you have to choose in the deck, but usually you always try to have board control. This is the most important in the beginning, and in the end, this is the main winning condition. So therefore, the ability is not that often useful. Sometimes some people play more aggressive, or when they have the board control early on, then they, at a certain point, they decide to give up the board and just go face. And they hope that you are the guy who then, because you need to survive, you make the trades, and they hope you trade not efficient. But even though you can trade efficient, your opponent hopes that enough stuff will survive of him, and he can kill you before you can stabilize. In those games, it's really good to have something with heal. Healbot, anti-healbot alone can then really screw the strategy from your opponent. So it's good to have heal, but usually not that often. So the ability itself is nice to have, but then not that important that it really makes a really huge difference, because also you don't know how many spells you get, if you get good spells, and so on. So the stats are here the most important thing, which need to be considered. And 4/6 for 5 mana, which is almost like Pit Fighter, which is a really good card in Arena. So with the set, it's a good card, and then in addition, it has the nice side effect, but which is not enough to make this a really super great card in Arena. Okay, so these were my opinions about those cards. As I said, just hopefully you get some ideas, some arguments about them, but make your own thoughts what do you think is good or not. And if you want, I'm also happy to discuss your opinions in the comments. So just if you want to say something, just leave me some comments.